Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, with us. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak on this Tuesday afternoon. We appreciate your time, Mack. Thank you very much. So Don Williams, who covers Texas Tech, said that Brett Yormark had been to various places and mentioned that today might be Stillwater and tomorrow could be Waco. Is he going to be on your campus tomorrow?
He is, and we're excited to host him here for a half a day, and I think he'll enjoy spending time with some of our coaches and our student athletes, and should be a really good day.
What is kind of the central theme of? Is it kind of just get to know you, or do you kind of roll out some things that, as you as an institution, would like him just to start thinking about?
Oh, I'm going to start pushing immediately for Baylor to receive a larger revenue distribution. That's in the works. No, it's, we I think the membership, we certainly appreciate Brett wanting to get out and to come to each of the campuses and just to get a feel for who we are, each university, each institution, each athletic department, spend some time visiting with some folks. And, the visits have been, pretty similar. He wants to meet with, some specific people, some specific coaches. And I think it's also an opportunity for us to, share a little bit about, who we are and our vision and, our thoughts, at least, Baylor specific for the next 5 years. And talk about some of those things.
Mack, what is the biggest surprise so far since you first, I guess, met Brett Yormark or got to know the name? What has been most surprising to you at this point?
That's a great question. I think it goes back to, obviously, when you look at his background and his track record, there's nothing in the area of college athletics, and there's quite a bit going on in college athletics right now, as you all know. And I think just again, you've heard me mention it before, his willingness to be vulnerable and to ask for help, and again to not to pretend to know what he doesn't know. And he's, I think he's been really, really good in terms of listening and asking for advice, for opinion. And I think that's resonated really, really well with the membership. And at the same time, he's got a lot of ideas and how we make the Big 12 different. So, but I think just the surprise, just his willingness to be transparent and candid about what he knows and doesn't know.
Mack, do you know or not know anything new with the Big Ten announcing their deal last week? And what was your reaction to what they did, and anything that's, if you could even mention it, that's on the horizon involving the Big 12?
Yeah, no, we all knew that, the deal was coming, and, certainly there was a lot of conversation, obviously publicly, about ESPN not being involved. And, I think obviously it's a pretty extensive agreement, obviously lucrative. But I think what's really best about it is the 6 different platforms, across Fox, and that includes the Big Ten Network and CBS, and 2 platforms, NBC, right, the linear, and then Peacock. So, I think it certainly provided obviously clarity, who's in, who's out, right? What does that mean in terms of ESPN? I don't know that it means that, now ESPN is ready to spend a bunch of money elsewhere. They're business people, and ESPN is not in the habit of making bad deals, other than the Longhorn Network. But I don't know. We'll see. There was a comment or two surrounding the deal that that we're not done expanding, and so I think there's that threat out there, and I think obviously I would at least surmise that will probably impact one conference more than the other. And I think finally for the Big 12, we're still being aggressive. We're still looking, what's out there in terms of making us more viable, strengthen our conference, different, and that may or may not include additional member institutions.
Mack, the grant of rights and the term of the deal is shorter, and that's probably going to be par for the course for everybody from now on. Does that make good sense for a conference like the Big 12 to have a shorter deal, or does it make you a little bit nervous that the deal will be shorter based on the fact that we're kind of sitting on tectonic plates in college football right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, Paul, and I think it's threading the needle, so to speak. And you've got two contrasting deals, right? You've got the Big Ten deal, which you mentioned is shorter, and then you've got the ACC deal, which is until 2036. And again, I'm not saying, I think that deal, when they made that deal, it was absolutely the best decision. But in many ways, it's provided security and stability for the ACC. But you're starting to hear publicly that from a financial standpoint, they're stuck and maybe may fall behind in terms of revenue. And so I think there's that balancing act. I think if I were certainly orchestrating the Big 12 and its future, I would bet on that we're going to be a really viable and exciting conference. We're going to be a conference that's going to grow in value and not decline. And so, if it were me, I would certainly be voting for and in favor of a shorter deal. I like 7 to 8 years, and because of the changing landscape, right, and the way the revenues and the value of college football continues to rise, and college athletics, I'd want to go back to the negotiating table in 7 years. And again, that's me. I'm taking that bet that the Big 12 is going to continue to grow and even become more and more valuable. And I truly believe it will.
Mack, there was one thing that Kevin Warren said as well that was very interesting. And I know his full HBO interview, I don't believe it's come out yet, but Brian Gumbel asked him about a very specific number of teams. Could you see 20 teams? And he said, yeah, I could see 20. And then everybody's like, he wants 20 teams. And it's like, no, he just said he could see that. And he also mentioned perpetual growth, that he could also see perpetual growth. If you had to guess, what do you think, or how do you take the perpetual growth part of that?
Yeah, here's how I interpret it. It doesn't mean it's right, but I interpret it specifically that there is a vision to get to 20, and that timeline to get to 20 is really, really up in the air, and that's where I think the phrase perpetual growth comes into play. So is that, two at a time, one at a time? Is that over the next 5 years? Is that, here within the next 6 months? And I think that's all up in the air. But I do think that there's a strong vision for 20. You don't make that comment or not embrace, that question if there's not a true vision for that.
Right.
Mac, the Pac-12 is next, you would think, next on the table based on now the Big Ten releasing what they've done. They're next in line. Of course, you have 3 years with your deal, the Big 12. Can you see in any way, I'm not saying you can predict this, but can you see in any way during the football season this fall that there will be another shift with some sort of realignment news involving the Big 12?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't discount it. It's probably the best way, and there doesn't need to be a story tomorrow in the paper that says, that Mack Rhoades said that.
I'm deleting it. And don't worry about it.
But, I don't know that sitting here today that I could say, yeah, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. I think, that there's still a lot of possibilities on the table, and none of them may play out, or some or all may play out, and could certainly some of them play out during the season. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know there's anything magic about it waiting until the end of the season.
Well, I'll just ask you this as a follow-up, just so we know, we can plan. Do you have even a 3-day weekend planned in the fall to get away? I'm no more trips into Mexico for a while. So,
well, damn. That's not good news for us. It gives us something that's going to spark. There's going to be a forest fire or something like that. On a scale of 1 to 10, from the day that it was announced, the latest part of college football with USC and UCLA, to where you felt on a scale of 1 to 10 with positivity for the future, the Big 12, where are you today compared to what that number might have been back in July?
Yeah, I think I was optimistic. Really optimistic back then, and I don't think it's changed. I think I struggle candidly with patience, and want everything to happen today or tomorrow. So maybe that's diminished a little bit of my optimism, but I'm still absolutely positive. And so to answer your question, I've done a great job this interview, I think, of not really answering any of your questions. But I think, probably, a 9, 10, back then. And I don't think I'd come off that number. I'm still extremely optimistic about the future of the Big 12.
Are you running for political office?
Never.
Yeah, smart.
Very
move.
smart. Very, very smart. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us, Sick on 365 Radio.
Mac, I don't know what everybody that covers college football is going to do when we actually have to cover games here in about a week and not talk about, everything off the field. But how do you guys feel like preparations are going, just the final touches and all the things as your fall semester, classes are beginning and just everything starts to kind of get underway? How do you feel about the state of things?
Yeah, this is the best time of the year when you kind of reunite with your student athletes. And although we've got many here during the summer, but classes start back up again. The campus is vibrant. It's exciting, right? We have soccer competing. We have volleyball competing and cross country, and obviously football versus Albany on September 3rd. So, just a lot of energy and excitement. And, I think, specifically when we think about football, I'm certainly not the head coach, but just through my many conversations with Dave and in my own eyes, I really like where our team is at right now. I think, Saturday's scrimmage was really, really good. I thought execution, energy, all of those things. Certainly it's not a game, and we've got some really young, talented players in the skill positions that are going to have to do it under fire. But I really like the team and how close knit it is, and so again, really, really optimistic. Obviously, the Albany game will be a great first test for us, and then we're gonna find out how good a football team we are, at least two at BYU, and I certainly don't think that game makes or breaks the season, because obviously 10 more to play, and I think this is a team that will continue as long as we stay healthy. That this is a team, because of some of its youth particularly in the skill areas. I think this is a team that's going to continue to get better throughout the season.
Mac, I did have a question from someone that asked me, and I don't know much about this. I do know that the Jordan brand's a big deal. You guys obviously are a Nike brand, but is there something that's about whether you are a Jordan brand or not? Has that been discussed with Baylor?
No, it really hasn't. And it's a great question. I appreciate the question, and it's interesting because there hasn't been a lot of conversation about it, amongst our head coaches and staff. I think we're obviously in a really good place with Nike, and you've heard me talk about my appreciation for them, and being able to sit down and strike an agreement, a deal at a time where not many wanted, there weren't any takers, actually, and to strike what I thought was a really, really fair deal, and so grateful for our partnership with Nike, and I would suspect that here in the future it continues to grow, and I know that they really value us and what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Did you see the article by Dave Wilson? You were obviously quoted. Dave was at this deal last night, but he also was on our show yesterday. And yet the feature on Dave Aranda, who probably is the one person did not want to feature on him, is Dave Aranda. And did you get a chance to read that?
I did. And, a couple things. One, I really appreciate Dave Wilson and the work and the amount of people that he talked to. He so much wanted to get it right and tell the story the right way. And, he's one of a handful that I really, really think he writes stuff. It's never about him or how good he looks as the author. It's really about, the story impacting others. And so, grateful to him. I mean, he talked to a lot more people than what was quoted in the article. So thought it was really thoughtful and well done. And, and I don't know if I should share this or not, but I will, because I think it speaks to it. But I talked to Dave about it, and I just said, this is a form of leadership, right? That we don't talk about much, but I truly hope that every one of our football student athletes read the article, because for him to talk about himself and looking in the mirror and needing to change, and his thoughts on two of his three children, becoming like maybe who he was when he was at LSU, or maybe some previous stops, right? I just thought that vulnerability and that transparency, what a an unbelievable leadership example when you think about transparency and vulnerability and knowing who you are. So I thought, look, I know I'm biased, but I thought it was a great article. Really, really well done.
Yeah, and there's been some others, but I just thought that this one here was even things that we knew. He didn't copy and paste them about certain things he said. He went deeper into them, and so did Dave. And I think that's great. What people were able to learn a little bit about him. Mack, thank you very much. The countdown to the season is around the corner, if not already underway, and we appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, gentlemen. You guys have a great afternoon.
You too. That's Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, with us on Tuesdays, most every Tuesday, unless he goes on vacation and all hell breaks loose, which is like clockwork.